What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the shop. Welcome to DIY guitar making. I am once again working on the parlor guitar build. That's two parlor guitars that I'm building. This is guitar number 86. What I'm doing right now, I've prepped this fretboard to a certain point. I've radiused it. I have made sure that through the leveling and radiusing process that it is dead flat out to about where the neck joint is, somewhere between the 12th fret and the 14th fret. I then start to have a slight ramping down from there out over the tongue. That is what's called fall away. Fall away is simply a slight fall away of the fretboard tongue, so a slight dropping of the fretboard tongue as you enter the portion of the fretboard that is not dynamic, okay? So, as many of you know, the truss rod adjusts the neck. So this portion of the fretboard from here to about here, more realistically it's from about there to there, can actually be adjusted to a forward or a back bow to help fix certain action issues you might have. However, this portion of the fretboard is static. It is not dynamic, so it doesn't adjust. And so in that way, when you string this up, the dynamic portion is going to get pulled forward into a slight relief, which is desirable, and this portion will not. So you want to manually fudge in that relief with just a little radius block, something like this, you know, whatever matches the radius that you have on there. And really, all I do is I give it 1 or 2 thousandths of an inch. So that fall away, don't overdo it. You're just trying to give yourself the tiniest crack of daylight underneath your straight edge when you check it. Okay, so I have a it's actually a 1.5 thousandth of an inch feeler gauge. It's the smallest feeler gauge that I have in my set. And once I can place that under the fretboard tongue with a straight edge resting there, then I know I have a small amount of fall away. So where I'm at right now, I have the fall away. I've smoothed this board very nicely down to 320 grit. And you can see it's pretty shiny. And that's because I'm trying something new here. I don't actually know how this is going to work out, but I am true oiling the board before I install the frets. So typically and traditionally, a fretboard is, one, it's made out of ebony or rosewood and not Wenge, which is what this is. So that's already out of the ordinary. And two, that rosewood or ebony fretboard has no finish on it. It's just raw wood on the surface, on the playing surface. And that's normal, and that's fine to do. Those woods, ebony and rosewood, they don't have to be sealed. Now, Wenge, I think, has to be sealed. I'm actually not even sure. I guess I could have looked that up very easily. But it's an out-of-the-ordinary wood here. It's not what you would normally use for a fretboard. It's not as dense as an ebony would be. And so I thought it would be prudent to actually finish this as you would, say, for a maple fretboard. You see maple fretboards finished all the time. They need to be finished. And it gives the fretboard kind of a nice glossy look and a different kind of slippery feel than you would normally get. So I guess I'm also kind of going for that, just to try something different and get that finished fretboard feel that I don't normally get on my ebony and rosewood fretboards. So the only issue here is that I haven't done this before, and I don't know exactly what other builders who finish their fretboards do, at what point they finish it and how they finish it. So I'm just kind of winging it here, and I've already applied 2 coats of True Oil. I'm going to go ahead and apply another coat right now. So I've got a lint-free cloth here that I normally use for finishing, and I'm just going to take this rag, this blue shop towel that I have here, and kind of fold it up into a square. I'm going to place this in the cloth. Now I normally use wool for in here, but for finishing just a flat fretboard surface, or, well, it's radiused, but anyway, it's nearly flat. For just finishing a simple, I'll say it like that, a simple surface, an unobstructed surface like this, not a whole bunch of curved surfaces and inside corners and things like that that you normally deal with on the finished job for a full guitar. I don't have to be as nitpicky with certain things, so I can just stick a shop towel in there. I've got some True Oil in this nice little Aquafina water bottle, and I've already thinned this out with 25% mineral spirits. And I'm just gonna charge the rag a little bit. And I've got a scrap block here. I'm going to beat the rag. So this is really how you charge the rag. I'm trying to work the material into the core of the pad. And that's good right there. And so that way I'm not just creating a big runny sloppy mess on here. You want to beat this down really good. This should feel almost dry, so I can see material coming off right away, but actually pretty quickly as I rub, it starts to I start to feel some friction because the rag is becoming dry. And that's how minimal this application is, or this coat. Coat isn't really the right word when you're talking about an oil finish, so we'll just call it an application or a session. And you just want to rub that out good every time. Otherwise you end up with inconsistent runs and swirl marks in there and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry for a little bit, and then we're going to do some prep work on these slots. I could have actually started beveling these slots and cleaning them out and doing things like that, checking their depth, etc. I could have done that before I started with the coats. Maybe I should have, but I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and as I continue to add more coats, and I think that'll be fine. So once again, this is all a little bit different here. I'm open to the process. I'm interested to see, once I get the frets on there, any amount of fret work, and if I have to lightly level the frets, which I usually have to do just a little bit of that, then I don't know how I'm going to deal with the steel wooling, which is what I normally do in order to bring the shine after recrowning the frets. To bring the shine back, I have to be careful not to overdo the 4/0 steel wool. The True Oil, the 4/0 steel wool will actually make the True Oil look really good. It'll mat it out a little bit, but it'll still look nice with that 4/0 steel wool. But it's very easy to overdo that and end up going through the True Oil. So again, I'm not sure how that's going to go. Maybe I'll need to apply more True Oil later on. Heck, we'll see. I don't know. Okay, let me let this dry for a little bit and then we'll talk. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is take this diamond needle file here. It's a triangular file. I don't know if you can see that. You see that triangle shape? Okay. I'm going to use this to bevel the edges of every single fret slot. This is to mitigate the problem of chip out. So if you have a slot, let's say this is your U-shaped slot right here, and this is the edge. You have this hard 90-degree edge. When you hammer the fret tang in, if the fret tang ever pops back out, it's going to catch on that hard 90 edge and chip off a little chunk. Also, if you ever pull the frets to do a repair, which if the guitar is passed down and cared about enough, isn't just thrown in the trash, it eventually will have those frets pulled, right? And at that point, that's when whoever that repair person is, might be you, is going to get that chip out. So what we're going to do is we have our hard 90 edge. We're just going to put a little bevel on that edge, so it's not a hard 90 edge, and that way when the fret tang comes up, it has less to grab onto. It's still possible and probable that you would get some chip out, but the chips would be much smaller and there'd be less of them. So that's why I use the word mitigate. It doesn't solve chip out, it mitigates it. So I'm going to take my diamond file. I like the diamond file for this. I have some triangle single cut needle files, and actually, are they single cut? I don't know. They might be cross cut. Well, let me look at them. I'm splitting hairs here. I don't know if it really matters. Yeah, it's a cross cut file. Okay. Either way, it's not a diamond file. And this just does the job quicker. Now I have to be extremely careful here because, like I mentioned, I probably should have done this before I started applying the True Oil coats, but I know as long as I'm careful it'll be fine, because at this stage I would normally tape up the fretboard surface in order to protect it so that I don't accidentally strike it with the file or do something like that. But I'm confident that if I'm careful, I'll be fine. We'll see if this is hubris. We'll find out very soon, actually. And now I got you guys watching me and I said all that, so I feel nervous. Probably will screw up. Okay, so there we have it. No slip-ups, thankfully. Looks good. And I'm gonna let the True Oil dry and cure a little bit longer than I normally do, because beveling those fret slots kind of pushed up a little bit of dust. It even mixed it with the True Oil right at the edge of those slots, and so it doesn't blow off as easily. Which I hadn't anticipated. So I'm going to let this harden a little bit more. 2 hours is normally the amount of time I wait between sessions, but I want to let that cure a little harder so I can hit it with 4/0 steel wool to knock down some of the little burrs that I just created around each fret slot before I continue with the next coat. Honestly, I probably have enough coats with just 3. The fretboard face doesn't need much. Well, we'll see. We'll see what I do. I think that's enough. I think I've tortured you guys long enough today. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for checking this out. Bye for now.
If you learned something here, please give this video a like and subscribe so you can be notified when I release a new DIY guitar making video. And if you want to really learn more, take one of my structured online courses at ericschaferguitars.com. or register for a hands-on guitar building workshop here with me in Burnville, Pennsylvania.